Donna, and I'm back with Greenleaf Season 2, Episode 7, Born to Trouble. This is the episode before the season finale, the mid-season finale, I should say. So, I believe that we have an incredible build-up, and I'm looking forward to next week. But let's go over what has happened in this episode. So we find that Grace is having this nightmares, deja vu of sorts. Basically, it's taken from the original scene of season 1, episode 1, where she's in the car with Sophia traveling to the mansion. And when she looks ahead and she sees the Uber driver, instead of it being the original Uber driver, it's actually Uncle Mac. When she turns to look at Sophia, Sophia is no longer there. And she looks ahead and she peers and sees that Uncle Mac has this evil, crooked grin upon his face. And she says, "What did you do?" And he turns to her and says, "No, what did you do?" And she awakens from it, shaken and desperate to find that silver bullet, that nail to go in the coffin to get him in prison. So she goes to her parents as they are sitting eating their breakfast, and she exchanged pleasantries, but she gets to the point right away and says, "Look, is there anything that you can give me that is going to help me put him away? Do you realize if we don't do something, he's going to be free?" And both parents meet her with a bit of disdain. And her mother says, "Look, you can either take solace in the fact that he'll burn in hell for his sins, or you can pray like I do, that he will repent of his sins." Bishop warns her that, look, whoever gets pity in your heart, whether it's Sophia, whether it's Faith, whatever family member, whatever does it for you, I need you to be still until after this memorial. Later, Grace will meet with Detective Ivy Sutton, who basically says, "Hey, the case is over, no further investigation. Got heat from on high not to even try to touch this case anymore. But I may have something for you." And she gives her Michaela. And Michaela was the teenage neighbor that Mac had in this apartment. You know, the one that he gave the drink that everybody got so sick because of the implication that he did something to her. So, of course, Grace follows up on it. And Sandy, the security officer there, who was also a great fan of Mac, and the one that got engaged to the other security guard, if you remember the original episode, she was at the condo and she was minding the front desk. Grace is making inquiries, and basically Sandy is trying to stonewall her. "Look, we can't give out information about our residents. It goes against our policies, da da da." Grace makes an passionate plea and tells her, "Look, this man hurt my sister and she died because of it. And I need to find the proof to get him in prison." Her plea touches Sandra to a degree, and she says, "Look, Michaela's usually back here coming through the doors around 3 o'clock. So, of course, Grace waits it out. And when Michaela shows up, Sandra gives her some type of signal to let her know that that's Michaela. So Grace asked to speak with Michaela, and Michaela willingly speaks to her, but is hesitant about what information she shares. And she's trying to convince Grace that nothing actually happened between her and Robert. Grace doesn't buy it, but Michaela's anxious to get away from her. When she does get away from Grace and Grace leaves, Michaela makes sure that she makes the call to Mac and informs Mac of Grace's visit. And so Grace, or Mac, indicates that he didn't need to know what was asked because he already knew what was asked. And she was saying, Michaela was saying, well, should I have said anything? He's like, no, you did fine. I appreciate you telling me it means so much to me. And as he's talking to Michaela, Loretta enters, and she let herself in, so I presume that one, she has a key, and two, she may even be living there. So what happens is that he tries to rush Michaela off the phone. Now, Michaela her body language seemed to change when she heard a woman's voice in the background. She didn't inquire, but her whole body changed as if she was jealous in some shape or fashion. Anyhow, Mac tells Loretta, oh, that was my lawyer. And, he was just telling me things that I needed to do before the hearing. So Loretta goes on with his explanation and thinks nothing more about it. Let's talk about Charity and Kevin for a moment. The divorce is finalized. They're in the conference room at Calvary. Both parties sign the divorce papers, and Kevin basically says, are you happy now? And Charity says, no, not really. And they go their separate ways. Later, Charity's trying to be friendly and what have you, and Kevin's busy trying to secure a apartment, and he's been unsuccessful. Each apartment that he can afford and that he tries to inquire about seems to already be taken when he calls. So he's a bit furious, and he also realizes he needs to get a job away from Calvary because he's not going to wait for them to fire him. And so, Charity's inquiring because she wants his support for Faith's memorial. He's like, well, I don't plan on attending. And she was, saying, well, I wish you would. So how she persuades him is like, well, would you be interested in spending time with baby Nathan and, perhaps caring for him as I attend the memorial? And he agrees to it. But he's being very curt with her. And he then apologizes and says, hey, I'm just having a bad day. So later on, Charity goes to her office, and her father brings her a package. And the package is the CD, the gospel CD that she's done for the church that she's selling. And they're looking at the cover, and the cover has the lake where Faith killed herself in the background. And she said, oh, I didn't even think about this when I selected the cover, And he said, think about what? Faith? And she's like, yes. And she said, do you think I should change it? He said, no, I believe that it's a fitting resurrection. And so, he goes to leave, and Charity's like, Daddy, I'm divorced now. And he comes and he gives her this warm embrace. And it's something I have to ask Deborah Joy Winan when I get the opportunity. Are those hugs as warm and inviting as they appear to be? I mean, it just seems, Keith David is such a superb actor, and it just seems so sincere when he hugged her to console her. Now, while on daddy duty, Kevin makes his way over to Aaron's quarters, and Aaron invites him to watch the game. I don't know what type of game it was, but he's watching some sports event on TV, invites Kevin in to watch with him. And Kevin doesn't want to inconvenience him because he has baby Nathan. He's like, oh, it's no problem. And the baby's cooing, and Kevin is looking at the baby cooing, and so is Aaron. But then you see them sneaking peeks at each other. So it was more suggestive than anything, nothing said. But now it looks like Kevin's beginning to notice Aaron as well. So we'll see what transpires there. I need a job. I need a job. That, I call it I need a job because Mac is meeting with the Deputy Mayor Leonard in the park. And Deputy Mayor Leonard is anxious. He doesn't necessarily want to be seen with Mac. He tries to keep moving and have Mac just kind of tag along with him as Mac passes off the payoff money. And apparently the deputy mayor is collecting the money to give to a judge to pay the judge off to make this nice and tidy for Mac so that he is cleared of the offense that he's been charged with. And then Mac asks the deputy mayor for a job. And the deputy mayor tried to blow him off, because Mac's like, I need a job. And he said, yeah, well, why don't you get one? And he tries to walk away from Mac. He said, well, maybe I should go to the FEC and inquire about a job there. I'm sure that they'll be interested in what I have to say about how you and your old boy ran your campaign. So that, of course, got the deputy mayor's attention. He doesn't want to be under investigation for election fraud or anything of that nature. So he says, well, what type of job are you looking for? And Max says, nothing big, but, something that's going to keep me paid. And the deputy mayor says he'll see what he can do. Now, later on, when the deputy mayor sees Jacob, he says, look, Jacob, let me talk to you for a moment. Your uncle's really trying to put his life back together. He's inquired about a job, and I'm going to give him one. And Jacob says, don't. And Deputy Mayor says, well, isn't it the Christian thing to do? And basically this infuriates Jacob. And Jacob slams him against the wall and has him pinned there and says, look, I have to go by that lake where my baby sister killed herself because of what that man did to her. And if I hear that you've urinated on him while he's ablaze in flames, or giving him a job ablaze in flames, and you urinate on him, I am going to tear you apart 6 ways before Sunday. Wow. So Deputy Mayor Leonard got the message. The next thing was, where's your Jesus now? So basically, before they get into a car game, what happens is that Brittany is giving a report to Basie and Jacob about their financial standings and the fact that they don't have enough money to finish the build on Triumph 2. And Basie said, I guess we're going to have to do what the saints do. And they said, what's that? And he said, pray. So, he thanks Brittany for her time. And as she exits, Basie says, well, it's time for Baze Reeves to come to town. Meaning that they're going to take it to the gambling table. So later, that's when they're at the table, Basie has a good amount before him. And there's a hand where he is calling, and that requires him to put everything in. And he really thinks he's won the hand, and he hasn't. The person actually has a full like royal flush, and takes everything that Basie had earned doing the game. And at the end of it, Jacob inquires, "Did you gamble with the church's money?" And Basie said, yes, I did. And at this point, it has to be apparent that Basie has a serious gambling problem, because he's promising Jacob, "Oh, look, what I borrowed from you, don't worry about it, I'll make it up." And Jacob's like, "That's not necessarily, I lost it fair and square, what have you." And he says, "No, I'm still going to make it up just the same. The Lord must be trying to show me something." And I titled this portion, "Where's Your Jesus Now?" because it was Deputy Mayor Leonard who made that statement, because Basie was doing a lot of boasting about his winnings. And when he lost that hand, that was the question that Deputy Mayor Leonard asked, "Where's your God now?" And he's probably praying on the mountaintop. And so they kind of laughed at Basie, because he's the preacher man. Grace has had a frustrating day, and she comes in frustrated, tired, exhausted, because she meets with Michaela and thinks that's going to be the silver bullet, and it's not. And she's frustrated. She just wants to be alone. Lady Mae and Bishop are reminiscing, looking at pictures of Faith. Lady Mae wants Grace to join in, but Grace is not there. She's desperate to find something that can shut Mac down. And she just doesn't know what to do, and she's frazzled. And Lady Mae attempts, she declines, and Lady Mae, when she tries to walk away, Lady Mae becomes enraged, and she starts giving this monologue about how Grace doesn't understand what people have endured. "You don't know what your sister endured. You don't know what I endured." And so what shuts it down is that Grace says, "Okay, well, what have you endured, Mama?" And Lady Mae almost returns to her calm, reserved self, and she said, "Apparently nothing of what you've endured." And she said, "Okay, Mom, look, I'll join." She said, "No, go ahead. Don't even bother now," because at this point, Lady Mae's frustrated with Grace. So the night before Faith's memorial, Mac is in his apartment alone. He's selecting flowers, and he orders these flowers. When Loretta comes in, he shuts down the web page and closes his laptop so she would not see the image. Initially, you think maybe he's getting them for her, but what happens is next day at the gravesite, Bishop is saying words. He's reminding people to live your life. Life is to be lived, and to make sure that you share everything that you have with others, and all those sentiments that are said. And when they're walking towards the mansion, Sophia tries to apologize to Zora about what happened on her birthday, and Zora is very dismissive of her, gives her the cold shoulder, and says, "I've already forgotten about it." And she speeds ahead to join her family now. So lets us know that the two cousins are going their separate ways. Once they get to the mansion, they go to the dining room. Dining room table set up, and Lady Mae's like, "Oh, it's just like I wanted it." And they see this gorgeous bouquet of flowers, and Sophia's like, "Who sent those?" And Grace said, "Well, Darlene and Vita said they were sending something," and she assumed that it was from them. When she read the card, it said, "In loving memory, Uncle Mac." this infuriates Grace to no end. She turns to Sophia and says, stay here with the family. And she makes a beeline to the door, down those steps, and into her SUV. Sophia's like, Mom? And she kind of picks up the car. She sees it and she goes out the door to try to stop her mom, but it's too late. Grace is sped off in her SUV, and that's where we are left. We are left with Grace on a mission to get to Mac. Now, in the previews, we see that she is poking Mac in the shoulder, and she is accusing him directly of hurting these women. And so we have to, he's not admitting to anything, and we have to wonder to what length is she going to go to in this mid-season finale. You know, is it just going to be accusations? Is it just going to be pushing and shoving? Does she have a weapon? Is she going to kill him? What is actually going to come of that scene? Also, you know, there's a few questions that are hanging in the balance. You know, of course, everybody's wondering, is Aaron and Kevin going to now connect now that the divorce is final, or what's happening there? And is Michaela, we see a scene in the previews for this last episode. We're seeing a scene where Michaela is actually on the couch sleeping. Mac is drinking a drink and he's looking over at her. So what is happening? Is he going to take advantage of this girl? And it seems like she's really protective of him, almost as if this is like her boyfriend. I don't know. I don't know, you know, she may feel indebted to him for taking care of her, because if you recall, Michaela's mother is mentally ill. She doesn't always take her medicine. On top of that, she's an alcohol and drug abuser. So between her manic moods and, you know, the abuse of alcohol and drugs, the woman's a mess, and she keeps this child on the edge. So majority of the time, the girl was sitting in the lobby doing her homework, or, you know, trying to be away from her mother, because her mother basically just constantly, with her manic behavior, is abusing this child, at least verbally. And, you know, it gets too much for Michaela and she has to leave. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens next week. I'm so excited. And I'm kind of, it's bittersweet for me, because I'm excited to see what's going to happen for the mid-season finale, but then we don't know when they're returning. And so I'm keeping my fingers crossed. I wonder if Grace is going to, I'm hoping Grace doesn't do something that causes her to be in jail, or to compromise herself in a way that is going to be a bad reflection, not only on her, but on the family. It's just really going to be interesting to see. Additionally, I had the opportunity to review a FaceTime that Merle Dandridge did with Lynn Whitfield and Deborah Joy Winans, and they were giving their perspectives of the show and their individual characters. And the bottom line is that a lot of people believe that the show is attacking the church, and, you know, what they're trying to show is that here is a family that at the center of it all is, you know, their belief in God. But these are damaged and broken people, which is a good representation of the church. Most of the people in the church are not necessarily abused or what have you, but we are people who come to church and say, you know, we need God's help. that we are sinners that need to be saved by God's grace. And there are always opportunities for growth in our lives, regardless to what our backgrounds have been, what our experiences have been. We know that we need something more. And what they're showing is a truly broken family that loves the Lord, but their brokenness causes some spiritual decay, and not to always look to God in every situation. You have Grace, who has a love for the Lord, but has come to the crossroads of her faith because of this evil that has taken place. And it's brought everything to question for her. It is a challenge of her faith. And so what the actors or actresses have told us, in essence, is that what we can expect to see season by season is healing to begin. And that's going to be beautiful as it unravels. That's all for me for now. So I'll be back with you for the mid-season review. All right. Until then, bye.